I tell tales about,
Sure.
you know, not only my own experiences, but those of went before me.
Yeah.
And I think they're funny, but they're not what I wanted.
Yeah, they're not from the organization. What? So you went down to California and trained?
Well, I was living in Washington, in Roslyn, and Arlen was in California, so I was probably there on an assignment. While I was in Washington, I joined a volunteer fire department and went through the whole red carding process all over again, and started getting assignments as a single resource. And so I was probably down in California where I met Arlen in that bar.
So can you tell us about the Reading training experience?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I've been to Missoula. I jumped out of Reading, but I don't know, what was it like? What did it consist of?
It was obviously it was tough. They try to winnow out as many people as they can the first day. And being old and wise, I came up with a strategy. I like to run, and so I would run in races. And my race strategy was, of course, being fit, but also diet. And so 2 days before the run, I would eat a big steak, and then the day before the run, I would eat spaghetti, carbos. And so I went through this whole drill with the Smokejumping, and I showed up at the field where they were running us through our requirements, peaking, while all 14 of the other guys were all drowsy and hungover and had spent the whole winter eating, and I smoked them, every one of them. And so the trainers thought, well, he's old, but he seems to be fit, so we'll focus on these guys over here. And I kind of skated, and of course I started, being old, I started going downhill really fast, and of course they were getting better and better every day. So by the time the training was over, I was the last person across the line, and all the other guys were beating the heck out of me, but it didn't matter because I made it through the first day.
So you did that for how many years?
3.
3 years out of Reading?
No, 1 year out of Reading, 2 out of Missoula.
Oh, okay. So 7 practice jumps in Reading, or how many training jumps? Do you remember your first parachute jump?
I do, because it was in that great big field up north of the base that you can see on the hillside there. I'm sure everybody else has used the same field, and then of course the jump spots got smaller and smaller, but I remember that first jump because I was pretty excited. Did
you get a lot of fire jumps in Northern California? Or in California?
No, as soon as the rookie training was over, we boosted Alaska. And so I spent part of my first season up there and had a great time up there. I met Murray Taylor, the Alaska jumper that wrote all those lies in that book of his. And just had a great time. That was good jumping, and soft landings and short trees. Couldn't beat it.
Yeah. So what about the letdown ropes in California, in Reading? Did you get a chance to use one? You never had to use one?
No. In fact, that jump where you're supposed to tree up, I missed. So I never did a letdown. I have 50 jumps, so I never did a letdown.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it is.
So,
okay, so I got a story about Alaska.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm up there, and Ray Rubio and Cindy Chapman. A few of us are sent out, I think 3 of us were sent out to Wilderness Lake, east of Fairbanks. And the mission was to set up to protect a couple of old cabins that were out there that were, what's the name for the natives would own holding, and they were very important even though they were abandoned. And so there's a big fire coming on the horizon, you see the smoke and even the flames way off. And so they dropped a bunch of hose and pumps to us and asked us to just prepare. Well, the fire stalled out there, and so we had all this stuff in place, but it didn't look like the fire was going to come. They picked us up and took us in, but we left the stuff. So Ray Rubio and Cindy Chapman are sent out there either the next day or the day after that because the fire started moving again. And Ray is standing in the lake wringing out his socks. And so he's knee deep in water and he's out. And Cindy's in camp and she's opening a can of tuna fish. And she hears woof. And she turns around and here's a black bear, like 3 feet from her, looking at that can of tuna fish. And of course, what she does is she spills the tuna fish on her leg. Jeez. So the two of them take off toward the lake. Cindy's got her radio and she's screaming in the radio. Next day, I'm at the base and here comes Cindy and I go, "Hey, how was Wilderness Lake?" And she goes, "Oh, that was all right. I gotta go now." Well, that's kind of odd. And here comes Ray. And I say, "Ray, how was Wilderness Lake?" And he goes, "Oh, it was pretty fun. Yeah, I got some bear fur stuck in my radio. You want to see?" We go over to his locker and he pulls out his radio. And here's big tuft of fur in the radio. So of course I say, "Well, what happened?" And he said, "Well, I heard this screaming on the radio, and here comes Cindy. She breaks out onto the beach and she's running towards me, and there's a bear right on her tail. And they're both just running as fast as they can, and the only thing I could think of was I had my radio in my hand, so I chucked it at the bear, hit him on the head, and he stopped." This is a true story. And so here's the three of them. Cindy stops, the bear stops, and Ray's standing in the lake. And it's just kind of like, okay, what's next? And all of a sudden you hear this whop, 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 whop. And there had been a helicopter on the other side of the lake checking out the other building that had been set up. And he heard the radio, and he came over to see what was going on, and here are these bear and 2 people standing on the beach. And so he lowers right down on top of where Ray was standing. The bear didn't budge. And so Cindy and Ray climb on a skid, just hanging on a skid, and he transports them down the beach. And I might have the details mixed up. I don't think they got in the ship. I think they were just hanging on, and he drops them and then picks them up. And so that's the story of Ray Rubio. True hero. I mean,
Yeah, that's a great story. Did you see any differences between the Missoula base and the Reading base?
Oh yeah.
What struck you? I'm really curious. When you came out of Reading, we all talk about going to Reading, but what was it like to go to Missoula?
Well, I had heard about Missoula. In fact, I think I boosted. I boosted over there that first summer, and I thought, wow, this is like going from Wall Street to Haight, Ashbury. And I liked it. I mean, it fit.
Which was Wall Street? Which was Haight, Ashbury?
Well, or let's say Quantico. Now you get my drift.
Yeah. Which one's Quantico and which one?
Reading.
Reading's Quantico.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They take themselves very serious.
In Reading. Yeah.
And I think the Missoula folks were more my personality, So I got a transfer. And that was difficult, but I was lucky. And my wife got picked up as a rookie that year.
Really?
Yeah.
So she became a jumper.
She became a jumper. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So my second year, she was being a rookie in Missoula.
So did you that second year that first year of yours in Missoula? Did you just jump around Montana and North Idaho, or where'd you go?
I think I boosted again up to Alaska because I did go up there twice, and I got one jump with Dawn at I think that was called Fish Lake, a little south of Missoula. We asked the jump master, is it okay if we're on the same road? And he said, you got kids? I said, no. Go ahead.
Huh. So